I'm Gary Mitcham, and I started out as a little kid working cattle. My daddy was a cow trader. He bought cattle all over in the country, and I learned cattle early. I always had a passion for the cattle business. Time I was 14, I was borrowing money with my daddy co-signing notes at the bank. And time I was 16, I was going to cow sales by myself buying. And so I knew the cattle deal, and did that for a long time. And I was furnishing cattle to cutters to start with, and they was feeding my cattle. And one of my good friends that was a cutting horse trainer, I was furnishing him the cattle, and me and him was partnering on the horses. And he was doing the training, and my son was working with him from the time he was 10 years old. He was riding, and the time my son was 15, I had him selling cattle for me all the time. And but we got a relationship with the cutting horse trainer that we had. It was real close, and finally I decided I wanted to ride cutters for a little bit. When I started, I thought, man, I'll never learn this. But I had a trainer that was all technique. He could train a young horse. So anyhow, I learned under him. Then I couldn't afford to cut. It's so expensive, so I turned pro real quick. I showed as an amateur for only a year and a half and turned pro. And what I learned back then was technique on the horse from the trainer. But my big deal was my customers winning. They were amateurs, and for me to teach them how to ride that horse and them get to the winner's circles was the biggest thing for me. I mean, that was my business, fixing horses and them winning, and selling horses. And did the cutting deal for years, and went to the World Show that year, hang out to see what this was all about. Dave Wolf come to me and he said, I want your opinion on something. Cinch wants to start a new division. It'll be like you work cattle at home, not fast but quiet. And I said, well, I'll get back with you on it. He said, what do you think? I said, I'll get back with you. So later on that day, I called him and I said, Dave, if you'll start out all your sortings with what they call the Western Heritage now, the cattle will be better all day long for a while. And I said they'll last longer. So anyhow, he calls me back and says, well, we're going to call it the Western Heritage, and you can't get out of a trot and you can't holler at a cattle. You can talk to your partner, but you can't holler at a cow or you're disqualified. Well, that interests me. And so I pulled out one of my cutting horses and went to some of the bigger shows and to get acclimated to the industry. It has been really good for me. And I've always tried to sell the horse that matches the customer. You can't sell a customer more horse than they can ride and then be competitive on. But as they get better, you can sell them a better horse. You've got to match that horse. That's his partner. That's your partner. And everything you do with it relating to the cow, that horse has a part in it. And just because you can ride a horse don't make you a cow man, and it don't make reading cattle is an art. Anybody can go in there and fast and get behind them. And Western Heritage has really been good to me. I teach my people how to use their legs and position that horse on the cow to make that cow move to where they want it to move. And it's been just outstanding for me to see these customers win on these horses. They've been really successful, you know. And Annabelle Terrell last year at San Antonio went over $20,000, including her scholarship, in 2 days. She won, I think she was first in 4 out of the first 5 classes of the show. And for them to for me to sit there and watch them do what they're doing on my horses is very satisfying. Caitlin Akery has been riding with me for 3 years, and she has been the top of her deal or second for the last 3 years, and her division. And she's been a real blessing to me. I keep 3 horses here for her. I show up, she shows them. And Josh come along, and I mount him on my young horses that I'm training, because the best way to sell a horse is when it's winning. But me winning is not as important as an amateur winning on my horses, because I got to sell them to an amateur. I'm not selling them to the open riders. And so it's a win-win for me and a win-win for him. He gets to ride the good horses, and I get to sit back and see how well amateurs can do on them after I get them trained. And makes it easier to sell, and because they're proven. Alan come along, he's built buildings out here. You know, he's been a big part of it. Helped me with the barns, helped me with all kinds of stuff on the place, and become real good friends. And it's been real rewarding to see him win the kind of money he's won the last few years, a couple of years. And I've sold him 2 horses. And Yvonne is a lot of help, and it's just amazing how she's coming along right now. And she's a big part of this here. She's here every day. She's riding for me. She warms the horses up correctly to where when I get on to train them, I don't have to spend an extra hour doing it. Little Daniel, you'll see his picture in there. He's a lot of help. He lopes horses for me. He's coming along really well, and proud of what he's accomplished in just such a short time. But we're here to put out a good product. I'm not a horse trader, although I've traded for a living in my life, and cattle and cars and horses. But the program is train a horse and sell the product. We're not here to buy and sell horses. If they hadn't been in my program, I don't sell them, because I can't fix them when the customer messes them up. If they'll ride like I tell them to and come back, we can get to that winner's circle. But they have to put forth the effort to learn the buttons on the horse. They have to understand a cow, and those are the things I try to teach to where they can be consistent. And I appreciate everybody and everything they've done for me. And we're looking forward for a few more good years. And that's it.